Check out my Patreon page, James Dobinson Audiobooks, for loads more stories, including Harry Potter, David Walliams, Jacqueline Wilson, and loads more. Feel free to check it out now. Chapter 16. Jodie and I played together in our bedroom all the next morning. You are so lucky having me as a sister, Pearl. No one else would play all your pretend games with you. I'm the best at inventing stuff, aren't I? Said Jodie. We'd resurrected Mansion Towers and were cutting out new cardboard people to live there. You're too good at inventing. Don't make any of your people murderers or ghosts, will you? I said. No murderers, no ghosts. Nothing scary whatsoever, I promise. Pearly girly, she said. She drew a Victorian man with a smiley mouth. Even his moustache had a cheerful upward twirl. He's called Mr. Horace Happy, and he's just moved into Mansion Towers. He's toddled into the kitchen and seen the cook being horrid to Kezia and Pansy, so he sent her packing. Now Kezia is the cook, and she makes Horace 10 different cakes every day because he's so greedy. You draw and cut out Kezia and her cakes, Pearl. I'll draw Pansy. Horace has taken such a shine to her. He employs little Flossie Floor Mop and Hetty Hoover to do all the real housework, while Pansy just gets to flick her feather duster around the parlour and share Horace's cakes. He buys her a new dress every day so that she looks equally beguiling, and little button boots with very high heels. That's not fair. Why should Pansy get all the new dresses and stuff when she hardly does any work? Because she's extra nice to Horace. I'm sure Kezia could get new dresses too if she'd perch on his knee and feed him his fairy cakes. No, she's not doing any of that. Oh well, Pansy will share her dresses anyway, as they're total best friends. And if you like, Horace can get so greedy and eat hundreds of cakes every day until he blows up like a balloon and bursts. My Flossie and Hetty have to labour from dawn till dusk to clear up every little yucky bit of him. But guess what? Old Horace has left all his money and Mansion Towers to lucky old Pansy, so she lives there happily ever after with her best friend Kezia, and they both have new dresses every day. Get some more paper and get designing the dresses, Pearl. You're better at it than me. But make all Pansy's dresses very low cut and tight-waisted with very frilly skirts. I'll have a crimson dress and a sky blue one and a canary silk and purple velvet for winter. Mum looked in on us to see what we were up to. I don't know. There's you telling me how grown up you are now you're 11, yet look at you cutting out paper dolls. Still, it's good to see the two of you playing so nicely together. I'd have been happy to play all day long, but Jodie sloped off after lunch. She said she had to take old Shep for a walk, but she was gone a long time. I played with Mansion Towers by myself for a little while, but it wasn't so much fun without Jodie. I started reading What Katie Did instead. I raced through the first few chapters. Then I got to the part where Katie is warned not to go on the swing. I started to worry. Katie was such a Jodie-type girl. I knew she'd go on the swing regardless. I knew the ropes would break and she'd fall and hurt herself terribly. I didn't want to read it. I snapped the book shut and slipped out of the back door. I went along the path to the woods and branched off near the badger set. I crept forward and saw that Harley was already there. He was crouching down with a jar of honey, spreading it all over the leaves and twigs and tree roots. I blinked at him. Harley? He turned around, smiling. Hi, Pearl. Harley, this is such an obvious question, but why are you spreading a pot of honey all over the ground? It's a cunning ploy, said Harley. Badgers like honey. If I smear enough around, they'll come out of their set and stay out until they've licked up every morsel. Oh, brilliant, I said, sitting down cross-legged, looking at the biggest hole expectantly. They won't come now, Pearl, not till dusk. Probably not till it gets really dark. We have to come back then. I fidgeted. I'm not sure Mum will let me, I said, shamefaced. She's ever so strict about bedtime. Can't you slip out by yourself, said Harley. He grinned at me. I gave you a torch. Yes, I know, but I don't want to tell him I was frightened of going out in the dark by myself. I wondered about Jodie. Don't bring Jodie, said Harley, as if he could read my mind. She'll make far too much fuss and noise. She'd scare off a herd of wild warthogs, let alone a shy little badger. No, she wouldn't, I said, but I couldn't help giggling. I want to come on my own, but I don't quite know how I'll manage it. Jodie will want to know where I'm going. I can't just slip off by myself. Why not? She does, said Harley. Go on, Pearl, try. All right, I'll try, I said. Harley smiled at me. He sat down beside me and offered me the honey jar. We both stuck our fingers in and licked out the remains of the honey companionably. Imagine badgers liking honey, I said. I thought they just ate insects and stuff. I think they snaffle up anything tasty. They're keen on peanut butter too. Now you are kidding me. No, I read it in a book. Honestly, trust me, I am the fount of all knowledge. Is that the Badger book, or is it Jude the Obscure? I said, pointing to the fat paperback in his jacket pocket. No, it's the old curiosity shop. I finished Jude. You read such hard books, Harley. Dickens is a tonic after Hardy. I'm greatly looking forward to the death of little Nell. Harley, I hate sad books. I can't even read about Katie falling off her swing in What Katie Did, and yet I know it ends happily. I've had a peep at the end. So you're a fairy tale girl. You want happily ever after endings. Of course I do. I've never reckoned fairy tales. They always make the ugly guys the bad guys. If you're freakily tall, then tough, you're a wicked old giant, and any number of young jacks want to come along and kill you. You're okay, though. You're little and pretty, and you've got long fairy princess hair, so of course you'll live happily ever after. I'm not pretty, I mumbled, feeling myself going pink. You're the prettiest girl in the whole school, said Harley. Well, that's only out of 3, and Sakura's only little, and you don't like Jodie, so you wouldn't pick her even though she's heaps prettier than me. I meant the whole school during term time, and Jodie isn't my idea of pretty. She's too beady-eyed and bouncy. I do quite like her, actually. She's good fun in small doses, but you're right. I like you much more. I wished Harley was a video so I could rewind him saying that again and again. I chanted, I like you much more inside my head all through tea. Afterwards, in my bedroom, I wrote in my journal. Harley is an amazing boy. He is the nicest boy I've ever met. I like him a lot, and he likes me too. What's that about Harley? Said Jodie, leaning over and peering. Don't peer. This is a secret journal, I said, snapping it shut. You don't have any secrets from me, said Jodie. You have lots of secrets, so why can't I said. Well, I'm older, said Jodie. You had secrets when you were 11, like me, I said. Okay, maybe I did. But I'm me and you're you, said Jodie maddeningly. I waited until she went to the loo, and then I quickly hid my diary at the bottom of my cardboard box of teddies. I whipped my jacket and jeans out of my wardrobe and hid them under my duvet. I got out my new birthday torch and hid that as well, jumping back on top of the duvet as Jodie came back in. What? She said. What? You look all funny, said Jodie. I can't help it if I look weird, I said. I opened Mrs. Wilberforce's copy of What Katie Did. Shh, now. I want to read. Boring, said Jodie. She lay back and listened to her iPod, dancing her legs in the air. Then she got fed up and went to watch television with Mum and Dad. I got into my pyjamas and climbed into my overcrowded bed. I read, forcing myself through Katie's long illness and her time spent in her special wheelchair. I wondered if Mrs. Wilberforce had read it since her accident. I wondered what she felt about it now. I was almost at the end when Jodie came back, Mum with her. Right, girls, get ready for bed, she said. Oh, well done, Pearl, you're all set. Night-night, dear. She sat down on my bed to give me a kiss and then jumped up again. What on earth? She fished out my torch. My heart started thudding. What are you doing with your torch, Pearl? Nothing, Mum. Why is it in your bed? My mind went completely blank. Mum shook her head at me. You were going to read after I put the light out. You naughty girl. You'll strain your eyes. She took the torch away and put it in my dressing table drawer. She looked at Jodie. You tell me if you catch her reading in the dark, Jodie. Yes, Mum, said Jodie, saluting. The Watch Pearl Patrol is ever alert and ready to report. Mum kissed us both and went back to the living room. Jodie shook her head. As if, she said. You wouldn't ever tell on me, would you, Jodie? I said. You know I wouldn't. No matter what, I said. Absolutely, said Jodie, getting undressed. She pretended to be a stripper, humming da 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 as she took off each item of clothing, whirling her bra above her head and rotating her knickers around and around her ankle. Idiot, I said, giggling. Why? Because you're acting crazy. Put your pyjamas on. No. Why are you suddenly asking if I'll tell? What are you up to? Nothing, I said. I yawned elaborately. I'm ever so tired. I'm going straight to sleep. I lay down and shut my eyes. Jodie went on talking, but I kept my eyes closed, not responding. I made myself breathe slowly, in and out, as if I was already asleep. Jodie gave up after 5 minutes. I heard her switching off the light and lying down. I waited. She tossed and turned and sighed and pummeled her pillow, but eventually her own breathing slowed. She burrowed deeper under her duvet. I wasn't absolutely sure she was asleep until I heard her soft snores. I lay still, timing my breath to hers, though my heart was beating hard. I waited another 10 or 15 minutes, and then I sat up and cautiously slid my legs out of bed. I took off my pyjama bottoms and rolled them into a head shape on my pillow. I put on my jeans and pulled my jacket over my pyjama top. I stuck my legs out of bed and stepped into my Wellington boots. It wasn't muddy, but I felt they'd give me more protection. I hated the thought of little rodents running around my feet in the dark. I didn't have time to brush my hair, so I tied it back with a bedraggled ribbon. I was sure Harley wouldn't care what I looked like tonight. It only mattered that I turn up. I plodded as quietly as I could to my dressing table and pulled the top drawer open. It creaked a little, so I had to ease it centimetre by centimetre, but soon it was open enough for me to get my fingers in and find my torch. I gripped it tightly and moved slowly towards the door. Jodie sighed. I stood still, holding my breath, but then she started snoring again. I got to the door, turned the handle very slowly, and then I was out in the passageway. I saw the light under the living room door and heard the murmur of Mum's voice above the television. I made my way swiftly down the passage to the back door. I couldn't really go on tiptoe in my Wellington boots. They made an odd little sucking sound at each step, but the television was on loudly. I made my way right along the passage to the back door. This was the difficult part. Dad locked and bolted it after we'd settled down for the evening. I prayed he wouldn't go back to check on it when he went to bed. I managed the key in the lock, but I was too small to reach the bolt on the door. I wasn't going to give up now. I fetched the stool from the bathroom, clambered onto it and stretched right up. I could just about reach the bolt. I had to push and tug for a minute or more, hurting my fingers, nearly losing my balance and falling off the stool, but at last it gave. I got down, moved the stool back, and then opened the back door. The fresh night air was a shock on my hot face. It was so dark. The passageway had been dark, but I could still see what I was doing. The backyard of Melchester College seemed scarily black in spite of the splash of silver stars in the sky above. I stood with my back against the closed door, longing to rush back inside, but I took a very deep breath, switched on my torch, and went on my way. The torch was a good one, sending out a strong yellow light so that I could easily see where I was going, but it made the darkness all around seem even denser. It wasn't so bad behind the house, but once I set out along the woodland path, I felt terrified. The trees seemed to tower so much taller, a blackly enchanted wood. I heard odd rustlings and tiny cries. They seemed as alarming as jungle roars. I tried turning the torch on in an arc, but the swerving light made me dizzy, and I kept getting half glimpses of phantoms, a huge, hideous man who was really the misshapen trunk of a tree, the writhing python that was only a creeper swaying over a branch. The torch slipped in my hands. I clutched it desperately and forced myself forward, step after step. My Wellington boots were too small for me and were starting to stub my toes. The tops rubbed against my bunched pyjamas. I lost my ribbon in the dark, and my hair fell over my face in tangles. I had to press my lips together hard to stop myself bursting into tears. I told myself I was being a ridiculous baby. I wasn't a silly little kid anymore. I was 11 years old. I wasn't lost or in dire danger. I was simply out after dark going to meet my friend. What if I couldn't find Harley and the badger set? I'd always found him easily enough before, but that was in full daylight. It would be so easy to miss the little windy path that led to the set. There were little paths everywhere. If I took the wrong one, I could get really lost and end up wandering the woods all night long. I stood at the edge of a path, agonizing over whether it was the right one or not. I thought of calling out to see if Harley was there, but that would frighten any badgers away. I made myself creep forward slowly, looking back over my shoulder every second step so that I could still find my way back, which made me blunder into an overhead branch. It scratched my forehead and pulled my hair horribly, as if it had real twiggy fingers. I struggled free, my lips still clamped. I got to the clearing and shone my torch. There was Harley, crouching beside a tree bole. He waved slightly. I waved back and went to sit close beside him, dousing the light. The sudden dark was immense. He reached out and held my hand. I squeezed his gratefully. We sat there together in the dark. After a minute or so, I started to see a little. I focused on the biggest entrance to the set. We waited. I might have dozed a little every now and then, my head nodding and jerking. Then Harley clenched my hand hard. I saw a snout emerge, then a whole striped head. The badger looked to the left, to the right, seemingly sniffing the air. He came right out and stood before us, much bigger and stranger and more splendid than I'd realised. He started scratching himself with his long claws. It looked so comical, I had to bite my cheeks to stop myself bursting out laughing. Then he stopped, sniffed again and took several steps forward. He snuffled in the grass, now sticky with honey, and then he started licking. After a few minutes, another snout appeared at the entrance. It was a smaller badger, much more timid. I felt it must be a female. She peered out, retreated and peered again. Then she disappeared and returned a minute later with two little badgers, still cubs. I breathed in joyously, blinking rapidly, as if my eyes were a camera taking photographs. I didn't need real photos. I had the images inside my head forever. I'd have sat there all night long, even after all four badgers returned to their set. But around midnight, Harley whispered that we should go back. You must be tired out, Pearl, he said. I've never felt so wide awake in my life, I said. Let's stay longer, Harley. They might come back. We can come tomorrow, and the next night and the next. You're okay, aren't you, finding your way with the torch? It's not too scary, is it? It's not the slightest bit scary. I lied. Perhaps my voice wavered because Harley insisted on walking me all the way back to the back door of Melchester College. The handle turned easily and I slipped inside, waving my fingers at him. It was a struggle relocking the door on the inside, but I got the bathroom stool again and managed it. I was on such a high I felt I could rise upwards in the air of my own volition. I tiptoed along the passageway, Wellington boots in my hand in case they left muddy footprints. There was no light under the living room door now. Mum and Dad were obviously in bed, fast asleep. Jodie seemed fast asleep too when I crept into our room. She was lying on her side, breathing deeply, not moving. There was just a moment as I got into bed when I thought her eyes were wide open, but it was too dark to be sure. I lay down, hugging myself under the warm duvet, realising my hands and feet were icy cold. I'd remembered socks next time, and maybe even gloves. I slept very late the next morning. For the first time ever, Jodie was awake before me. She was fully dressed, sorting through the cardboard box of old toys we'd shoved in the wardrobe, the box where I kept my journal. "What are you looking for?" I said, sitting bolt upright in bed. "My old rocket," said Jodie. She found it weighed and wedged at the bottom, under my bears. She waved it around, miming flight. "I was wondering about giving it to Dan," she said. "And you could give these old teddies to Sakura. She'd love them." "I suppose," I said uncertainly. "But I love them." "Yes, but you're too old for toys now," said Jodie. There was a little edge to her voice. She kept her head bent over the box. "Ooh, what's this doing here?" she said, pulling out my journal. "Give it here," I said, leaping up and snatching it from her. "Don't worry, I don't want to know your silly secrets," said Jodie. I wasn't so sure. I wished I could think of a really good hiding place for my journal. I didn't dare write everything in it now. I wrote one small sentence, though I embellished it with stars. "I have such a wonderful secret with Harley." Chapter 17. I led a weirdly wonderful secret life for the next few weeks. I hung out with Jodie, I played with Sakura, I helped Mum and Dad, I made several shy visits to Mrs. Wilberforce, and I saw Harley most afternoons when we read our books by the Badger set. Harley started keeping a special Badger Watch notebook, writing up each day and night in meticulous detail. He noted every new bedding mound, tuft of hair and paw print. He even described every trace of badger dung. He drew the badgers in his notebook, carefully shaded, accurate portraits. He let me draw them too. I tried to copy his style, but I couldn't help giving the badgers humorous expressions. The big male had bushy eyebrows, the female had a smile under her snout, and I drew the two cubs holding paws. Harley sighed. "So you'll be calling them Billy Badger and Betty Badger, together with their twin cubs Bobby and Bessie?" he said. "No, I'll pick much better names," I said. Harley smiled at me. "How do you know they haven't got names for us? They might waffle away in their burrow about little soppy fair girl," I said. "What do they call me then? Great giant freak?" "Of course not. Your wondrous God food provider. They say prayers to you night and morning. Whenever they feel a bit peckish, they grunt, 'God will provide.' And then they go outside their set and lo, God has indeed been busy with his honey jar." The grass around the set was permanently sticky now. I had to watch carefully where I sat down. I stole a jar of honey out of Mum's pantry. Then Harley experimented with a jar of peanut butter he'd bought at the village shop. The badgers licked it up equally enthusiastically. They didn't come out every night, but somehow those long hours of crouching together, watching the entrance of the set, were still precious. We even met up once when it was pouring with rain. I got soaked even though I was wearing my jacket. Harley brought an enormous tarpaulin he'd found in one of the Melchester College sheds, and we huddled together under it as if it were our tent. I hung my jacket outside my wardrobe and pulled my sodden pyjama bottoms off when I got back to the house. I spread them out over the end of the bed, hoping they'd be dry by morning. They were still soaking wet, though, and the legs were covered in mud up to the knee. I got dressed hurriedly, keeping an eye on Jodie, who stayed hunched under her duvet. Mum and Dad were already up, but I dodged them both, my pyjamas a screwed-up parcel in my fist. I got to the bathroom, locked the door, and then ran a bath and leaned over it, trying to pummel my pyjamas clean with soap. I didn't make too bad a job of it, though I had to clean the bath out very thoroughly to get rid of all the muddy scum. I got back safely, intending to drip the pyjamas dry on a hanger inside my wardrobe, but Jodie was sitting up in bed, arms folded, waiting for me. My heart started beating fast. I clutched my pyjamas to my chest as if they were a baby. They started dripping down my jeans. "Had a little accident?" said Jodie. I swallowed, going red. "Yes, actually," I said. Don't tell Mum." "Don't tell Mum what exactly?" "That I had to wash my pyjamas," I said, hurriedly hanging them up in the wardrobe and putting a towel under them to catch the drips. "I see you've wet your jacket too," said Jodie. "And my goodness, look at the state of your welly boots. You've had one mighty accident, Pearl." I sat down on the edge of the bed, wrapping my arms around myself. My damp jeans dug uncomfortably into my tummy. So, what have you really been up to? Said Jodie. I couldn't sleep last night, so I just went for a little walk, I mumbled. As you do, in the pouring rain at midnight in muddy woods, said Jodie. All by yourself? Sorry, who are you? You look like my sister Pearl, but she's scared of the dark. I had my torch, Harley's present, so you could slip out at night and meet up with him? No, yes. Oh, Jodie, please don't tell. I'm not going to tell, but I should. What are you playing at, Pearl? I couldn't believe it when you started this lark. I mean, I don't think I'd have the bottle. I just can't credit it that you're up for it. You and Harley, for all unlikely people. But what the hell is he playing at? You're only a little girl. No, I'm not. What do you mean, anyway? He's got no right to play about with you. Tell him I'll punch his stupid head in if he hurts you in any way. Of course he wouldn't hurt me. He doesn't do anything to me. I never even said I met up with him. Oh, yes, you do. Harley and I have such a wonderful secret. You read my journal? Well, I couldn't help it. You leave it lying around in such stupid places. And I've been worried about you. I didn't know what to say. It's kind of embarrassing. You're too young. You don't do anything really full on, do you? Is it just kissing? What? I stared at her. We don't kiss. Well, what do you do then? Promise you won't tell anyone at all. Do you swear? Yes, I swear, said Jodie. She said several very rude swear words out loud to be funny, but she still looked serious. I pulled her head close to mine and whispered in her ear, We watch badgers. What? Said Jodie, blinking. Badgers. There's a set in the woods. We've seen them lots of times. 2 adults and 2 half-grown cubs. Oh, for pity's sake, said Jodie, starting to laugh. You don't have to creep off to the woods to watch badgers. Just sit cross-legged on the lawn. It's heaving with them. Jed's going bananas. They're running it all with their earthworks. Oh, Pearl, you are amazing. So that's why Harley gave you that torch, so you could go on your little badger-watching expeditions. Oh, sweet. I resented her tone. She was acting like it was a very childish thing to do. Lots and lots of people do badger watches and keep notes. Harley started watching in April. That's when all the big watches start. Some are set up so that 40 people at a time can watch underground. Oh, wow, fantastic. 40 anoraks huddling together all night watching for dopey Mr. Stripey to amble out and have a crap and a scratch for the benefit of his doting public, said Jodie. There's no need to be so snotty about it, I said. I wish I hadn't told you now. Of course you had to tell me. You must always tell me everything, said Jodie. She nestled up to me. So what do you talk about when you and Harley are watching your old badgers? We don't talk. The badgers wouldn't come out then. So you sit there for hours in silence. I'd go crazy. I know. That's why we didn't ask you along too. Oh, so you're saying you would have wanted me to along if I'd kept quiet? Yes, of course, I said, though this wasn't 100% true. So, do you and Harley snuggle up together while you're badger watching? She was teasing again. I glared at her. Of course not. Well, Harley's as cuddly as a set of iron railings, I must admit, so you don't even hold hands? No, I said firmly. We had held hands, but I wanted to keep this private. Well, I'm glad my little sister's such a good girl, said Jodie, patting me on the top of my head. What about my big sister? Are you a good girl? I said. Jodie laughed. No fear, I'm a very bad girl, she said. Are you a bad girl with Jed? I dared ask. Ah, that would be telling, said Jodie. Well, tell then, I said. I know you like him and you do gardening with him, but you don't do anything, do you? Like what? We've snogged a bit, that's all. You haven't. Have too, said Jodie, licking her lips. But he's a man. Oh, well done, keenly observed. Miss Pearl, girl detective. He's not old enough. He's 18. A teenager. He still shouldn't kiss you. That's way, way worse than you thinking Harley was kissing me. No, it's not, said Jodie. Did he make you? Of course not. No one makes me do anything. You know that. I was mucking around and he was getting irritated, told me to run away and play. I got a bit narked and said I wasn't a kid. He said I was just a silly little schoolgirl. So I said, no, I'm not. Come on, give us a snog and you'll see. And he said, watch out or I'll do just that. And I said, go on then. Or are you all talk? And so he gave me this stonking great kiss. It was just fantastic. You've no idea. But then he pushed me away and said I was a precocious little whatsit and I needed my bum spanked. How horrible. How dare he say that? I hate him. I think I love him, said Jodie. No, you don't. You're just playing. You just want him to fancy you. You want everyone to fancy you. Maybe, said Jodie. And they do. They do. Because I'm so totally gorgeous. She sashayed around the room in her pyjamas, hand on her hip, tossing her head and striking poses. She went to the door on her way to the bathroom. Then she paused. I'm going to get every guy in the whole school fancying me. Just you wait till term starts. But don't look so worried. I'll let you keep old Harley. I wasn't sure if Jodie was really telling the truth about Jed. I couldn't stand the idea of him kissing her, even though she'd asked him to. I knew I should tell Mum, but then Jodie would get into huge trouble. I couldn't do that to her. I decided she was probably pretending, the way she often did. Even so, I took to stalking her, wandering around the gardens, peering behind bushes and inside huts, bracing myself in case I discovered Jodie and Jed embracing. But Jed was either working alongside Mr. Wilberforce or digging by himself. The one time Jodie was with him, he was ordering her about in a lordly fashion, getting irritated with her when she pulled up a flower instead of a weed. How do I know whether it's a stupid geranium or whatever? It looks totally weedy to me, she said, flinging it down on the ground. You need glasses, you do. Go on, clear off. You're hopeless, he said, dismissing her. We used exactly the same tone when we'd got tired of Zeph and Sakura and Dan tagging along and we wanted to be rid of them. It didn't look as if there was any romance between them whatsoever. But the next day I spotted Jodie squashed up in front of Jed on his garden tractor. They were roaring along at a tremendous pace, zigzagging wildly while Jed let Jodie steer. Jodie was laughing. Now I wasn't so sure. I asked Harley that evening, on our badger watch. I felt terribly awkward bringing it up. Harley, you know Jed, I whispered. Harley snorted. Do you think there really might be something going on between him and Jodie? I don't know, said Harley. Why don't you ask Jodie? I have, and she says there is, but she would do anyway. I never know whether to believe her or not. I'm worried about it, Harley. I wouldn't worry. Jodie wouldn't fuss so about you. Well, she would, actually, I said, blushing in the dark. I'd die if I had to admit that Jodie had given me the third degree over Harley. I think Jodie's old enough to watch out for herself, said Harley. Yes, I suppose so, but she can be so mad sometimes. Oh, Pearl, you're driving me mad. Do shut up about Jodie. You're making too much noise. The badgers won't come if you keep nattering. I shut up altogether, feeling wounded, because I'd been talking in the tiniest whisper. The badgers didn't come out, though we waited till gone midnight. Harley didn't say anything, but I was sure he was blaming me. He didn't understand. He didn't have a sister, a very special sister like Jodie. I didn't discuss her with Harley any more. I couldn't say anything to Mum or Dad. I found myself blurting things out to Mrs. Wilberforce. I took what Katie did back to her. She gave me a glass of lovely lemonade in a pink frosted glass. I made it myself with fresh lemons and sugar. I used to make gallons of it years ago for Parents' Day after the staff versus pupils cricket match. I served it with cucumber sandwiches, she sighed. But now we don't bother with the cricket match. Half the parents are abroad and the children are collected by chauffeurs anyway. And I'm not up to catering single-handed. Literally, she said, holding her one good hand in the air. You've no idea how difficult it is to squeeze a handful of lemons when you've only got one hand. I had to hold the lemon steady with my chin, as if I was playing a ridiculous party game. Well, it's lovely lemonade anyway. Thank you very much, I said awkwardly, my teeth clunking against the glass. It's all so much effort, said Mrs. Wilberforce. Sometimes I wonder if it's worth it. Maybe I'd be better off lying back helplessly, not trying to do a thing. Sorry, I shouldn't moan. She glanced at what Katie did. Cousin Helen would give me a prissy little lecture. What did you think of her? I got so sick of her I wanted to slap her. I stared at her in surprise. I'd thought Cousin Helen awesomely saintly. She's very good, I said lamely. She's so good she's sickening. All that rubbish about learning to accept pain. Why should you? And if you're going crazy with despair and misery because your whole life is ruined, why should you have to try extra hard to be sweet and beautiful and uncomplaining? It does seem very unfair, I mumbled. And then what happens at the end of the book? Mrs. Wilberforce asked me vehemently, as if I'd written it myself. I shrugged uneasily. It all ends kind of happily ever after, I said. And why's that? She demanded. Because Katie learns to walk again, I whispered. Exactly. That's what always happens in storybooks. Katie learns to walk again. Colin learns to walk again. Ah, have you read Heidi? I shook my head. It's about a girl in the Swiss mountains, isn't it? I said. Does Heidi fall down a mountain and end up in a wheelchair? You read it and see, said Mrs. Wilberforce. She wheeled herself round the shelves, round the book, and frosted at me. I jumped nervously and spilled lemonade all down my front. Oh dear, she said. I'm sorry, I said anxiously. I'm ever so clumsy. No, it was my fault. I can be a terrible bully at times, I know. That's half the reason why I don't teach anymore. I did try for a while, when I first used a wheelchair after the accident, but it's left me with such black rages now. I used to rant at the children so. Poor Harold had to wheel me out of the room once or twice. So then I'd rage at him, and yet in many ways he's been a positive saint to me. And I'm raging at you when I've been longing for you to pay me another visit. Now, I don't suppose you'll come back any more, and who would blame you? I swallowed. I'll come back. You can rage at me all you like if it makes you feel better." I was trying to be very grown up and serious, but she burst out laughing. "You're such a strange little girl, Pearl Wells. In your own way, you're just as sparky as your sister. What's she up to now? Is she taking Frenchie's mad mutt for a walk?" "Well, maybe. Or is she trailing after Jed?" I must have looked startled. "I haven't got much else to do, so I crouch behind the curtains and spy on people. It's obvious your sister has got a big crush on our Jed. Not a good idea." "I know," I said. "It's an awful idea. That young man's already broken a few hearts in the village. You tell your sister he's bad news." "I have," I said, "but she won't listen." "I hope he doesn't encourage her," said Mrs. Wilberforce. "Perhaps I'd better have a word with Harold." "I think it's mostly Jodie," I said uneasily. "Well, she'll soon be able to make friends more her own age when the new term starts," said Mrs. Wilberforce. I shivered. I didn't want the term to start. I wished it could be the holidays forever, living this strange dreamlike life in the empty Melchester mansion. I was permanently light-headed with lack of sleep, so that I often dozed whenever I sat down. Mum started to worry about the dark circles under my eyes and sent me to bed even earlier. She fussed whenever she caught me yawning. "Maybe we ought to take Pearl to the doctor," she said to Dad. "She seems so dog-tired all the time. I'm really worried about her." "I'm fine, Mum," I said quickly. "Of course she's fine," said Dad. "She's bound to feel a bit tired at times with all this lovely country air. It's great to see her going out to play rather than staying cooped up in her room with her nose stuck in her book." He gave me a quick hug. "You're growing up, aren't you, Pearlie? That's tiring in itself, isn't it, pet?" "She's still a little wisp of a thing," said Mum. "Well, she takes after her mother," said Dad. He put his big hands around Mum's waist. "There, I can still circle your waist, easy peasy." "I think my waist is the smallest, as a matter of fact," said Jodie, putting one arm above her head and posing. Her T-shirt slid up, showing her flat tummy. She stuck a crystal bead in her navel. "What in the name of God is that?" said Mum, appalled, thinking she'd somehow sneaked off and got her belly button pierced. I still didn't always understand Jodie, even though I'd known her all my life. She didn't seem to mind getting into trouble. She acted up deliberately. I wondered how she'd make out in classes in September. Would she be able to do the lessons? Harley had scoffed at Melchester's academic standards, but he was the brainiest person I'd ever met, so he wasn't the most reliable judge. I was sure private school pupils knew masses more than ordinary kids. They did weirdly old-fashioned lessons like Latin and Greek, didn't they? If Jodie didn't understand something, she'd start messing about, and if the teachers cracked down on her, she'd get really cheeky. She'd been excluded twice from Moorcroft Comprehensive for insolent behaviour, though luckily Mum and Dad never found out. I was anxious about Jodie. I was even more worried about me. Every time I thought about all those posh pupils, I felt sick. I wondered how I could ever have fantasised about fitting in with them. They'd look down on me, clonk me with their cellos, hit me with their hockey sticks. I might have been the school swat and teacher's pet at my old school, but perhaps I'd come bottom of the class here. I'd never ever be a teacher's pet if the staff were all like Mr. Wilberforce and Miss French and Miss Ponsonby, none of whom seemed to like me at all. Mum and Dad started to get tense as the term approached. Mum pored over her recipe books, multiplying all the ingredients. She costed out each item and had frustrating meetings with Miss French, who seemed to be in charge of kitchen finances. "Though, what the flipping hell does she know about kitchen management?" Mum said through gritted teeth. She puffed up her cheeks and put on a posh accent, pretending to be Miss French. "Oh no, Mrs. Wells, silly you. You can't give the children cooked breakfast on a weekday. Much too expensive. However, we do have a tradition of sausages on Sunday at Melchester College. It's considered a special treat for the full-time boarders." She swapped to her own voice. "2 small sausages a treat, for pity's sake. And she won't let me cook them proper chicken. Oh no, it's that nuggety nonsense, where you're paying twice as much per portion for 1/10 of the nutrients. Does she want all the kids to get ill?" Dad had an easier time with Mr. Wilberforce, but at the weekend approached, when the first boarders were arriving, he got increasingly harassed, running backwards and forwards on last-minute errands, his new shirt damp, his new jeans crumpled. He jangled as he ran, a big bunch of keys swinging from his waist. "Mind out, girls, Superman has to speed forth," he said, panting up the stairs. "I've got to clear a space in the attics for all the blessed trunks now." Jodie punched me hard in the shoulder as Dad charged off. "Ouch, that hurt. What's up with you?" I said irritably. "Come on, wake up, slow coach," said Jodie. "Didn't you see those keys? Don't you get it? What are those keys for?" "The attic rooms. Half of them were locked," I said. Yeah. And what else was locked?" "The door to the tower." "Yep." "At last!" Jodie seized me by the shoulders. "This is our chance to get up there, Pearl." "How? Are we going to ask Dad?" "No, of course not. He'll say we're not allowed there. He'll make out it's dangerous or something." "Well, maybe it is. Mrs. Wilberforce fell and broke her neck." We'll be fine. If the stairs have all crumbled away, then we'll just look. Oh, Pearl, this is our one chance to get up into the tower. It's been spooking me ever since we got here. We must give it a go. Why? If it's so scary. I love being scared, said Jodie, eyes glittering. Okay, I know you don't like scary things. I'll go on my own. Only I don't think I'll be able to reach that bolt, so maybe I'll have to get Harley to come along. Then I'll come too, I said, as she knew I would. Chapter 18. I wondered how Jodie was going to get the key from the bunch dangling from Dad's belt. She could be very light-fingered at times, but I didn't see how she could possibly wiggle one key off a keyring. And anyway, how would she know which one to take? I'll figure something out, she said. Dad was busy rechanging a warped door in one of the attic rooms. A difficult, heavy job in that close, musty air. He came back downstairs covered in dust, hot and sweaty. Coo, Dad, you pong a bit, said Jodie, as she gave him a hug. You better go and have a bath before tea, eh? It'll ease me back. It's killing me, said Dad. He went off like a little lamb, stripped down to his underpants and ran a hot bath. Mum was safely in the kitchen making cheesy baps. Jodie grinned at me triumphantly. Okay, let's go for it, she said. She ran into Mum and Dad's bedroom and snatched the whole bundle of keys from Dad's belt. She wrapped them in his t-shirt to muffle them, and then we made a run for it. We had to go through the kitchen, but Mum was looking into the oven. Don't go off gallivanting. Tea's ready in 5 minutes, she said, forcing her lips into a funnel and blowing cool air up her hot face. Yeah, we're just on an errand, said Jodie. Back in a minute, Mum, I gabbled. We shot past her, up into the dining room. Miss Ponsonby and the 3 littlies were already there. Jodie bunched Dad's t-shirt to her chest and we ran past. Where are you going? Can me and my man come too? Asked Dan, unhooking his fat little fingers from the bench. I'm coming, said Zeph. And me, said Sakura. No. This is big girl stuff, said Jodie. Stay there, little squirts. They muttered crossly, but stayed where they were. She had far more authority over them than their undie. We dashed up the great stairs in the main hall, up and up to the top floor. How will we get the cupboard shifted? I asked. We'll do it ourselves, said Jodie. I wasn't sure we could possibly manage it, so no matter how we heaved and pushed, but wondrously Dad had left it half tugged out as he still wasn't finished working in the attics. We went up the stairs and along the long corridor. I was wheezing from the dust. I should have been hot from all the running, but I saw there were goose pimples on my arms. We can't, I whispered, as we got near the door at the end. Yes, we can, said Jodie. No, I mean, we can't reach the bolt without Harley. It's too high up. He'll have to open it for us later. We haven't got time to go up the tower now. We're just going to get the door open, stupid, while we've got the keys. She drew them out of the t-shirt and jangled them in my face. The noise sounded horribly loud. I flinched away from the keys as if they were attacking me. Baby, said Jodie. I saw her hands were shaking as she fumbled with the keys, trying this one and that in the locked door to the tower. The large ones were too big, the little ones too small. Oh God, this is ridiculous. We haven't got time to try them all, said Jodie, sorting through them wildly. Try this one, I said, selecting a stout old-fashioned iron key that didn't match any of the others. Jodie tried it. It fitted perfectly. It was very stiff, though. Her knuckles went white as she tried to twist it. Careful, it might snap off altogether, I said. You do it then if you're so clever, she snapped. So I tried, pushing the key in harder and giving it a little jiggle so that suddenly it connected and turned with a click. You beauty, said Jodie. We'll come back after tea and bring Harley with us, okay? I put my hands flat on the door, as if I was trying to keep it shut forever. I sensed the darkness on the other side of the thick wood. I could feel how cold it was, through the cracks. Let's lock it up again, I whispered. Don't be silly. I'm not. I've just got this horrible feeling. Please, don't let's go up there, ever. You're just playing at being scared, Pearl, said Jodie, gathering the keys into the t-shirt. Come on, we've got to get these back before Dad gets out of his bath. I feel awful here, I said, clutching my tummy. You're just hungry, idiot, said Jodie. No, I'm serious. It's a feeling of dread, I said earnestly, nearly in tears. I'm sure something terrible's going to happen. Look, I'm the one who makes up the spooky stories, said Jodie. Well, I'm definitely coming back after tea. You don't have to come with me if you don't want to, Pearl. We got the keys back to Dad's bedroom with seconds to spare, just as he came padding out of the steamy bathroom with a big towel tied around his waist. He stuck out his tummy. Me, Big Chief Wobblebelly, he said, thumping it. Dad, you're so gross, said Jodie. Me want cheesy baps for tea, said Dad. Me too, said Jodie. Me too, I echoed, though I was in such a state I could hardly eat anything, even though Mum's baps were hot from the oven and crisply golden with melted cheese. She'd made egg mayonnaise and tomato salad too. There was a rhubarb fool with sugar shortbread biscuits for pudding, all my favourites, but I could only manage a mouthful. Jodie sidled up to Harley on the bench, whispering in his ear. His eyes opened wide. He peered along at me, and I nodded. Zeph started messing about with his shortbread, putting 2 sticks into his mouth to make vampire fangs. He pretended to bite Sakura and Dan. They shrieked half-heartedly, not really scared. I made out I was scared too, to be obliging. I knew I was playing at being scared of Zeph. The feeling I had about the tower was real, no matter what Jodie said. As soon as Undy herded the 3 littlies out of the dining room, Jodie, Harley and I cleared the dishes into the kitchen for Mum and then ran off. "Don't you be long now, Pearl. You're having an early night tonight," Mum called. "You're looking really peaky, pet." I smiled at her wanly and followed the others. Miss French and Mr. Wilberforce were lurking in the big hallway. We couldn't go upstairs in front of them, so we had to hang around while they talked endlessly about this and that. Miss French made a big fuss of Jodie, telling her she had a brilliant future career as a dog trainer because old Shep was so much more relaxed and obedient now. Mr. Wilberforce must have thought I felt neglected because he told me how much my little visits meant to his wife. It made me feel dreadful because I didn't visit her very often, and when I did, I just seemed to upset her. I wondered what she'd say if she knew we were about to go up to the tower room. I'd promised her we'd never go there. I couldn't help shivering. "Goodness, Pearl, you can't possibly be cold," Miss French said briskly. "Maybe you need a good long run, as well as old Shep. Get that circulation going." I knew why Mum found Miss French so irritating. "You could do with taking up running too, Harley. You need to put a bit of beef on. Broaden out a little," she said. "You're such a string bean." Harley's lips flicked in the briefest smile. I wanted to slap Miss French. We didn't make personal remarks about her grey hair or her wrinkles or her general dumpiness. I couldn't work out why Mr. Wilberforce always gazed at her as if she was a film star. They stumped off together eventually. We all breathed out deeply, sticking out our bottom lips and blowing up our nostrils. "God, I thought they'd stay rabbiting all evening," said Harley. He looked at us. "So, let's go." We hurried up the stairs, Jodie and Harley racing ahead of me. I couldn't seem to get my breath. They were ducking behind the cupboard, out of sight by the time I'd started down the corridor. I hung back, tempted to sidle back down the stairs, to the safety of my bedroom. Then Jodie called me. Well, it had to be Jodie, though her voice sounded ghostly and muffled. "Is that you, Jodie?" I called anxiously. "No, my child. I am the poor melancholy wraith who haunts the tower, the sad white whispering woman." "Stop it," I shrieked. "Well, come on, stupid," said Jodie in her own voice, putting her head around the back of the cupboard. She reached out her hand. I seized hold of it and she pulled me through, into the stale, strange air of the past. We stumbled up the stairs together. Harley was already at the end of the corridor, stretched to his full extent, jabbing at the bolt. He gave a sudden grunt and then a yelp of triumph. "Come on, Pearl," Jodie said. "He's done it." She ran full tilt along the corridor, her footsteps loud and clattering. I imagined all the locked doors opening and all the Melchester inhabitants frowning out at me, furious because I was disturbing their peace. I saw the 4 crumbly monkeys crawling out into the corridor, leaving a little trail of withered rubber in their wake. I rushed after Jodie, terrified of being left on my own. "Okay," she said. Harley went to turn the handle, but she slapped his hand out of the way. "No, it's my tower," she said. Let me. Harley sighed, raised his eyebrows and gave her a little bow. "After you, madam," he said sarcastically. Jodie reached out and turned the handle. She opened the door very, very slowly and then peered inside. "What can you see?" I whispered. "Nothing. There must be something." "No, really, I can't see anything. It's pitch black." "Give us your torch, Pearl." I gave it to her. My hand was shaking, and I think hers was too, because she nearly dropped it. She fumbled and caught it, and then clicked on the light. She opened the door wider and shone the torch around. There was still nothing much to see. A little round room with a small spiral staircase leading upwards. There was no furniture, but a pile of rubble littered the floor. Jodie stepped inside. "Be careful. Watch the floorboards," I begged her. "It's fine. Solid, look," said Jodie, stamping her high heel. "Come on, come in, you guys." Harley held out his hand to me. I gripped it tightly and we stepped inside too. It was smaller than I'd thought, as if the brick walls were closing in on us. Jodie swung the torch wildly around and around, making me dizzy. "Keep it still, Jodie." She shone it straight in my eyes. I ducked, turning my head and saw something glinting at the edge of the floor. I bent down and edged out of the rubble. It was a silver brocade shoe with a pointed toe. The heel had snapped right off so that the toe curved upwards in my hand. "What have you found, Pearl?" "Treasure," said Jodie, shining the torch at me again. I blinked, tears brimming and then spilling down my cheeks. "Are you crying?" "Don't be silly, Pearl. It's only an old shoe," said Jodie. It's not any old shoe. I think it must have been Mrs. Wilberforce's shoe when she fell down the stairs. Oh, God, said Jodie, coming forwards. She peered at the shoe, examining it. There's no blood on it. Shut up. So she fell down these stairs, said Harley, his hand on the narrow rail. Let's go up then, said Jodie. No, I said. Pearl's right. The stairs obviously aren't safe, said Harley. OK, you two stay here. I'm going up. I've got to see the tower room. Jodie started clattering up the narrow stairs, shining the torch in front of her. Test the steps first, idiot, said Harley, or do you want to end up in a wheelchair too? Shut up, Mr. Boring, said Jodie, but she slowed down a fraction, tapping twice on each step, as if she was performing a little dance routine. Harley stood at the bottom of the steps, waiting in case his extra weight made the spiral buckle and pull away from the wall. Jodie went up and up and up, her taps getting softer and softer. I should have made her let me go first, said Harley. Never, Jodie called down. She already sounded a long way away. She had the torch with her, so it was pitch dark in our windowless room. It was very cold and damp and smelled sour. Harley reached out and felt for my hand. I think I'd better go up after her. You stay here, Pearl, she said. I wasn't sure which I dreaded most, climbing all those rickety, dangerous stairs or staying down here by myself in total darkness. I'll climb up too, I said. Oh, wow, I'm here. Wait till you see, Jodie called all the way down. Shine your torch down so we can see what we're doing, Harley called back. What? Wait. There was a terrible bumping, rattling sound. Jodie? I yelled. It was only the torch, which she'd thrown down the stairs. It landed with a thump, rolling over and over, the light flashing madly. My birthday present, I said, snatching it up. The plastic had cracked, but the light bulb still shone brightly. Is it okay? Don't worry, I can get you another one, said Harley. Is she crazy? You don't fling torches around like that. She doesn't think, I said. Come on then. Do you want to go first, Harley? I'll go behind you, and then if you trip, I'll catch you, said Harley. Let me have the torch. I'll shine it for you. You just keep your eyes on what you're doing and hang onto the rail like grim death. He took the torch and aimed it upwards. I held onto the rail and started climbing. The steps were awkward and narrow and quite slippery, even though I was wearing my rubber-soled sandals. I had no idea how Jodie had bounded up here in her high heels. I climbed up and up and up. The tower seemed as tall as a church steeple. Jodie kept calling down to me impatiently, telling me to hurry up. Harley encouraged me from behind, insisting I take my time. He kept the torch shining steadily. When I was nearly at the top, I saw great chunks of plaster had been wrenched from the wall. The staircase wobbled precariously, not properly attached. Oh, God, we're mad, said Harley. I think we'd better go back down, slowly. Don't go down again. You're nearly there. Come on, Jodie urged. You can't give up now. Let's go right up, Harley, I said helplessly. I edged upwards, holding my breath at each step. And then, at last, I looked up and saw the tower room above me, in the flickering light of the torch. Jodie's head appeared at the top of the staircase. She seized my arms by the elbows and pulled. I stepped up into the tower room. It was like stepping into a fairy tale. We didn't need the torch up here. We could see dimly in the twilight shining through the lozenge-shaped leaded windows. There was a soft Persian rug on the floor, patterned with birds and roses. Tapestry wall hangings were pinned all around the room, with woven castles and pale people, with tall hats and long pointy feet. There were gold-framed paintings, too, of women in dark velvet gowns, with long wavy hair falling about their shoulders. Bookshelves ran around the walls, with big red and white gift books, with gold lettering on the spines. There was even a rose velvet sofa covered with soft shawls and cushions. It was small, but even so it must have been a terrible struggle to get it up, that precarious winding staircase. I walked on tiptoe as I circled the room. I felt like a terrible intruder. This was Mrs. Wilberforce's room, not the sad married lady, bitter and depressed. This was a young girl's secret room, beautiful and romantic. Jodie snatched up an embroidered shawl and draped it over her shoulders, starting to do a gypsy dance. Put it back, I said. It doesn't matter. No one comes here anymore. It's my room now because I found it, so these are all my things, and this is my shawl, she said, stamping her feet with a flourish. Carry on like that and we'll all go through the floorboards, said Harley. Jodie took no notice, holding the shawl out in either hand and flapping her arms, so it looked as if she had fringed wings. If someone crept into your bedroom and declared they discovered it, and so it now belonged to them, I take it you'd have no objections, said Harley. You'd be quite happy if they wore all your clothes and stomped around in those stupid red shoes. Jodie flapped the shawl at him contemptuously, bullfighter fashion. Harley shone the torch in her face. Don't, you're blinding me, she snapped. What's that on your arm, said Harley. Oh, ha ha. No, look. It's all on your shoulders too. I'm not kidding. Jodie peered. Yuck. What is it? It looked as if she was wearing grey lace. It patterned her bare arms and her t-shirt. She rubbed it tentatively, and it smeared. It's just dust from that stupid old shawl, she said, shaking it vigorously. Just dust? Said Harley. He lowered his voice. Maybe it's the curse of the tower room, manifesting itself. You're going grey all over. Soon you'll start withering. Don't, Harley, I said. He doesn't frighten me, said Jodie, but she dropped the shawl on the Persian rug. She gave it a little kick and then marched over to the window. Look, just look at the view. You can see for miles, she said, pressing against the latticed glass. I can see all the way over the hills to Golford. No, you can't, said Harley. It's in the other direction, and it's too dark to see anything properly. I'm like a cat. I can see in the dark, said Jodie. She bent her head. I can see right down, down, all the way to the ground, and whoops, I spy with my super-sharp feline eye a little mouse peering up at me, his nose twitching anxiously. Don't lean on the glass like that, Jodie. It's so old it might easily fall out, and then you'll go down, squash your harvest mouse flat, said Harley. You're such a worrywuss, said Jodie. Look at the tops of the trees. You could kid yourself you could step from one to the other, all the way to the hills. I've always wanted to be able to fly. Maybe my rocket, Pearl. Remember it. I wanted Dad to make me a rocket to whiz me up to the moon. Harley, maybe I don't need a rocket. Maybe I could just launch myself, one giant leap, and then I'd ride on the wind. She raised her arms as if she was going to step straight out of the window. I snatched a handful of her t-shirt, pulling her back. It's okay, Pearl. I'm only kidding, she said, but I still clung to her. I didn't let go of her until we were safely back down the spiral stairs and out of the tower altogether.